Welcome back for another video on the Bulletproof Fantasy Football YouTube channel. This is Drew at DFBeancounter on Twitter. We are now going to talk about CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper's running mate in the Dallas Cowboys offense. CeeDee Lamb is a fantastic prospect. I just want to start by saying that because this is not going to be the result of the conversation we are about to have. Is maybe not going to paint CeeDee Lamb in quite the light that you're hoping. And it's not because CeeDee Lamb's a bad player. He's actually a really good player. I really like CeeDee Lamb. He's one of the best wide receivers in last year's class. So let's talk a little bit about his prospect profile before we get into why I think that you probably should be selling CeeDee Lamb. And we'll start with the basics. First of all, he was a 21-year-old rookie. That's what we're looking for. He declared early for the NFL draft. Again, that's what we're looking for. We want serial winners, guys that show up in college at age 18, age 19, age 20. They're so good the NFL says, come on out, we're going to draft you. And then they do, and then they get drafted early. He was a first-round pick, 1.17 to the Dallas Cowboys. His breakout age in college, serial winner? Yes, 19.4 breakout age at Oklahoma. He played with some pretty high quality players at Oklahoma. There was a first round pick named Hollywood Brown. There is a top 5 dynasty tight end named Mark Andrews that played there the same time as CeeDee Lamb. He played with good players and he found a way to produce because that's what good players do. That being said, the one flaw on the CeeDee Lamb profile, he was just short of like a perfect prospect, right? Like he was 6'2", 198 pounds, which exceeds both of my height and weight limits, but together his like proportions weren't quite alpha sized. I'm looking for a 26.0 BMI, and CeeDee Lamb's BMI was only 25.4, so it was a little lower than I would have liked. But that's a pretty minor detail. When we look at bulletproof wide receivers, there's no difference in wide receiver 24 hit rates. Where we see the difference is in the perennial wide receiver 1 hit rates. The betas just don't quite get there. So CeeDee Lamb probably, he already hit wide receiver 24 season, so he is definitely a hit. I just don't know that we're going to get that elite wide receiver 1 year over year over year type ceiling from CeeDee Lamb, but let's carry on. His production. Market share receiving yards by age. He fell a little short at 18. He smashed at 19. Well, he hit at 19. He hit at 20. And then in yards per team pass attempt by age adjusted yards per team pass attempt, he hit at 18. He hit at 19. He hit at 20. He's a very efficient player, or he played an efficient offense at the very least. And he had a pretty sizable chunk of the offense. So those things are good. He qualified as bulletproof. He is a bulletproof beta, but he's right on the fringe of that beta tier. Like he could easily be an alpha. He's just right there. He's right there. So anyways, after his rookie year, right? After he gets drafted, he goes out and plays his rookie year. He puts up 13.10 points per game. His PFF receiving grade is 72.6. He was a beta. And his prospect profile said that he was bulletproof. So when I run him through my sophomore comp list, I want to read these names to you, and then you can pick up your jaw when we're done and we'll carry on. We have AJ Green, Des Bryant, Allen Robinson, Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks, Jeremy Maclin, Hakeem Nicks, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Calvin Ridley, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sammy Watkins, Torrey Smith, and Jordan Matthews. Every single player on this list hit a top 24 season, and only 3 of them did not hit top 12. I think it's very likely that CeeDee Lamb hits a top 12 season at some point in his NFL career. I don't know that he's going to hit a whole bunch of them, though. That's where a little bit of hesitation comes from. But the biggest concern for me right now with CeeDee Lamb's profile is that he had an 84.7% slot snap rate, which is just a little bit too high for my liking. Basically, he was exclusively a slot receiver. And the last time that we saw a high-profile, bulletproof wide receiver come into the NFL, play exclusively out of the slot, have early production, early high performance, was Juju Smith-Schuster. He never got out of the slot, and that has hampered his ceiling. And I don't know. It's not that we don't think CeeDee Lamb can play outside. It's that we don't know yet, and that's an unknown. And he's got to get outside if he's going to have one of those high impact careers in the fantasy football world. And then his target share last year was 17.7%, which isn't bad. That's perfectly fine for a rookie wide receiver. But what are we going to project him for this year? We just talked about how Amari Cooper is probably going to be in the 20% range. Are we really thinking CeeDee Lamb is going to be more heavily targeted than Amari Cooper? I don't think that's accurate. I think they're probably both going to be in that low 20% range of targets. And that's just not enough to get into the wide receiver 1 conversation. So his value, and my issue with CeeDee Lamb is entirely his ADP. It has nothing to do with the prospect profile, has nothing to do with the player. I think he's great. I just don't think he has the projection to hold up to his ADP. In Dynasty League Football April ADP, he is going off the board at the wide receiver 6. That's way too high for me. In my Dynasty rankings on Patreon, patreon.com/bulletproofff, I have CeeDee Lamb ranked at wide receiver 17, or I will once I post my April rankings. They're not out yet. They're coming right before the draft. That's where I have him slotted right now. It might change a little bit by the time we get to actually posting them. We'll have to wait and see. So I put a current thoughts on all the players. I don't do a new one every time that I do the rankings, but if somebody moves or something like that, then I'll change the current thoughts. Or if there's just new things that I need to talk about in the rankings. So the current thoughts for CeeDee Lamb, back to that, is a ton of people are looking at CeeDee splits with and without Dak and crowning him the greatest wide receiver of all time. These splits fail to take into account the absurd pass volume the Cowboys had in those games. They would have smashed the all-time record for pass volume if that had kept up. That was propelling CeeDee Lamb more so than his own strong play. He is a solid bet for a wide receiver 2, he is a solid bet for wide receiver 2 numbers, but wide receiver 1 numbers are likely out of reach unless he takes a giant leap forward. I am also concerned about him in a similar fashion to Juju after his huge sophomore season. CeeDee was almost exclusively a slot receiver this year. How well can he perform on the outside if they change his role? We don't know. He could be fantastic, or he could be terrible. We just don't know yet. And that uncertainty gives me pause. I'm not, and then that's the end of it. To elaborate a little bit more, I'm actually not dinging CeeDee Lamb for his slot role. I think he's going to transition outside and he's going to be fine. I really believe that. But in 2020 or 2021, I have his expected finish from a projection standpoint to be in the wide receiver 2 range. I have his high. Like if he hits his ceiling this year, he'll still only be a wide receiver 2. And honestly, I think his low end is also wide receiver 2. I have a hard time envisioning him not being a wide receiver 2. So basically the ceiling isn't there. That's what the issue is. Here are Dynasty League Football suggested players according to their trade analyzer that you can trade CeeDee Lamb for in Dynasty Leagues. And this is Superflex Leagues. So we have Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, Aaron Rodgers, and Cam Akers. Some of those like higher end guys like Nick Chubb, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Akers, they're suggesting you add a little bit to CeeDee Lamb to get there, but not a lot. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of guys on this list that I have ranked higher than CeeDee Lamb. I have DeAndre Hopkins ranked higher. I have Stephon Diggs ranked higher. And I actually think I'm going to move up Stephon Diggs in the rankings. I have Justin Fields ranked much higher. I have J.K. Dobbins ranked higher. I have Nick Chubb ranked higher. I don't have overall rankings, but these are guys that I would prefer if they're at a different position. And I would definitely prefer to go and get Cam Akers. If I can add to CeeDee Lamb to get a Cam Akers on my squad, I would do it in a heartbeat. Cam Akers is somebody you absolutely have to buy. Did a video on him I don't know, about 2-3 weeks ago now. Go and watch it if you haven't yet, because Cam Akers offers upside that is basically unheard of. Not unheard of. He offers top 5 upside at the running back position, which is substantially more valuable than top 5 upside at the wide receiver position. So their pick range, so if you're just equating CeeDee Lamb to draft picks in Superflex leagues, they are suggesting anywhere between 102 and 104. I think that's fair. If you could get 103 in a Superflex league for CeeDee Lamb, I would do it because you could probably take Jamar Chase. And if you watch the Jamar Chase video, you know that it doesn't matter where he lands. He is the alpha that eats first as soon as 2022, and he's going to be a perennial wide receiver 1, and you need Jamar Chase on your squad. So if you can get Jamar Chase for CeeDee Lamb, you should do that. And or you can take Justin Fields probably at 103. We'll see. Now here is the trade finder from Dynasty League Football. I just want you to be aware of the value that you have in CeeDee Lamb, because I think that it is prudent to be moving him based on his value. That's why we're focusing on value so much right now. So here are a couple of actual real life trades that went down. On April 8th, someone traded the 105, 205, and 305 for CeeDee Lamb at 404. That's probably a Jamar Chase and somebody in the second round. I don't know who, and somebody in the third round. It doesn't really matter. You're probably getting Jamar Chase for CeeDee Lamb, which is worth it at that point. Here's another trade. This one is on April 5th. And the trade was CeeDee Lamb in the 2.12 pick. These are all super flex trades, but pardon me, by the way. So CeeDee Lamb in the 2.12 for DeAndre Swift, the highest ceiling running back in the 2020 draft class that was stacked at running back, and 309. I would easily do that trade. Give me DeAndre Swift and his fantasy football breaking potential over CeeDee Lamb. And then we go down to the next trade, which is on April 4th. CeeDee Lamb for the 105 and the 108 in a Superflex league. You are likely getting Jamar Chase and one of the top 5 quarterbacks, probably maybe top 4 quarterbacks even. That sounds really appealing to me. Like that is great. I would absolutely do that trade. So these are some ideas of trades that you can make to get rid of your CeeDee Lamb, not because he's bad, because he's overvalued. So now I get it. There's something to be said for I want to roster good players, and that fading CeeDee Lamb for these reasons could be overthinking it. And I understand that line of thinking. I understand how you would just say, I just want good players. Give me the good players. And if that's how you feel, don't sign up for the Patreon, because I don't just accept what is considered common knowledge and that CeeDee Lamb is good and therefore you should roster him. We look at value, and I tell you based on the value versus points that they're going to score, whether or not you should keep or trade this player. In my opinion, CeeDee Lamb is a sell because of the offense that he's playing in, and that's it. That's the only reason. So if you want to hold him because Amari Cooper's gone next year, or you think they're going to buy him out or cut him or whatever they're going to do, or Michael Gallup's gone, or whatever other situational thing that you want to say, I think that's fine. I think that we should buy players that are in poor positions or poor situations. The difference is I want to buy those players when that poor situation is negatively affecting their value, which is not what's happening with CeeDee Lamb. Nobody is considering his situation to be a negative, and it isn't from a floor perspective. He is still going to probably hit a wide receiver 2 perspective. The issue is wide receiver 1s, and if you don't have a wide receiver 1, you don't have anything at the wide receiver position. When you are looking at the point difference between these wide receivers, a top 5 wide receiver versus a wide receiver 2, you're getting 5.03 points per game. The difference between a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 5 is 5.18 points per game. To go from elite wide receiver to a mid-range wide receiver 2 is the same as to go from a wide receiver 2 to a wide receiver 5. It is a huge gap. We need to target the guys with the high upside, the elite ceilings. Those are the guys you need to go and target. CeeDee Lamb doesn't have that right now.